Ladies, gentlemen, and heretics, welcome back to the channel. So you've just rolled up to a kill team game, and lo and behold, you're up against the Sanctifiers. You've never played them before, there's a lot of models, and they all do unique stuff. The Sanctifiers are the Emperor's most enthusiastic pyromaniacs. They show up to a knife fight with a gun, and surprise, the gun shoots fire. If this is your first time facing them, don't panic. Today we're going to get you through this match. We're going to teach you the 5 things that you need to know in order to stand a chance against the Holy Horde. They're strong, but they're not unbeatable. They've got a very big bag of tricks that punishes sloppy play and aggressive movement. We're going to walk you through a couple of things that are going to help get you through this first match as quickly and painlessly as possible. Let it be known, my worst loss in Kill Team, and bear in mind I am not a top-end player, but my worst loss in Kill Team came at the AVTT tournament out in California, hosted by Squad Games, and it was against Sanctifiers. I think I scored 3 points, and unfortunately the entire round was recorded, and I believe it's out there on the internet somewhere. It was embarrassing, and so now I'm going to try and pass on what I've learned about these guys to make your life a little bit easier. Stop, drop, and roll. Let's get into it. So first up, in matter of importance and annoyance, are the Blaze tokens. There are many weapons in the Sanctifier's arsenal that have the Blaze keyword, and if they hit you with one of these flamers or grenades, or the Miraculous decides to spirit bomb you out of nowhere, this can set your model on fire. When you gain one of these Blaze tokens, next time you activate, you automatically take D3 damage, but on top of that, you have to figure out if you're going to get put out or not. You roll a d6, and on a 3-up, the flames go out, which is great. When you roll a 1 or 2, though, you are still on fire. The other option is that you can pay an APL for that activation and automatically put the fire out. That APL tax is really brutal, especially if you're playing a 2 APL team. Not only are you taking D3 damage to start, but all of a sudden your models are doing way less stuff. The other problem is the Sanctifiers is an 11 model team, which means they have a ton of activations and they're going to continue to set you on fire if you're not careful. So what's the best thing to do when you're set on fire? It's even better if you can keep from getting set on fire, so obviously prioritize killing and taking out the models that have the Blaze tokens, and stay out of range if at all possible. Smoke grenades can be your friend here. You can pop a smoke grenade and break line of sight, and it prevents them from getting a shot off. You can't just ignore the Blaze, which is frustrating, and you're going to take those D3 wounds. If you've got terrible luck like I do and continuously roll 1s against all odds, sometimes it's better just to pay the APL and be done with it. If you're playing a 3 APL elite team, in many cases it's probably going to be better to eat the damage and keep your APL, but each situation is going to be different. So pay attention to who's on fire and who may be on fire next turn. Try to get those guys down as soon as possible and from a range, because most of the flame weapons have a limited range on them, so if you can keep them at arm's length, you'll be doing fine. You should think of the Blaze tokens as a really unfortunate parking ticket from the Imperium. You can't get away with it, you're going to have to pay it at some point, and it's best just to figure out what to do and plan ahead. Next up, we've got to talk about the Sermon. This is the key to their mobility and durability. The Sermon is a 6-inch bubble around the Confessor, and it's got to be him if he's still alive. If he's not, they can choose another orator, but that means it's down to a 3-inch bubble and a little easier to deal with. The 6-inch aura around the Confessor allows all of the friendly Sanctifier models within it to take a damage reduction on normal and critical damage of 4 or more by 1. Doesn't sound like a big deal until all of a sudden this 7-wound model is feeling more like 9 or 10 wounds because of the damage reduction, and they just don't die as easily as you'd expect. These guys want to cluster in that Sermon. It's kind of a big part of their gimmick. They have the need for a holy mosh pit. Punish them for it. So what can you do about the Sermon? It's going to take some planning ahead, but there's a couple of points that we can give you to keep in mind as you go up against the Holy Horde. Blast and Torrent weapons are your friends. Nothing punishes a group of enemies like throwing a grenade or launching a grenade into their midst, only to have it hit multiple models at once. If you can, take out the Confessor as early as possible. They're going to try to hide him because he's really important, but if you can manage to send in a sacrifice or get a good shot off early on, it reduces that aura bubble down to 3 inches on another orator, which is a huge deal and really kind of makes the whole team come unwound. Try to use consistently hitting 2 to 3 damage weapons. The damage reduction only comes in on 4-ups, and if you can land 3 or 4 hits with a 2-3, then you're doing pretty good. Especially if you've got some piercing to throw into the mix as well. Force them to spread out. Threaten multiple objectives. Use screening to your advantage and try to separate them as best you can. All of a sudden the whole team comes undone when the sermon is no longer available and they can't stack buffs. A lot of their ploys rely on being inside of that sermon, and if they're outside of it, they can't use it. These guys aren't tough individually, they just feel like it when all of their buffs are stacking on top of a 4-up damage reduction. This third point can really mess up your plans turning point 2 onwards if you're not careful. The Confessor, the leader, has this ability called Lead the Procession. And after turning point 2, if he repositions or dashes, moves forward in any way, anyone that is within his sermon, that 6-inch bubble we just talked about, gets to automatically perform a free reposition with some movement limitations, but typically up to 3 inches, along with him. Yeah, the guy marches forward singing the Emperor's Holy Song, and I guess he gets lonely, and everyone's coming up behind him. Yes, the Holy Harem can just move another 3 inches for free, right behind the Confessor, and this is how they get within the danger zone very quickly. They can end up threatening your models when you're not paying attention because all of a sudden 5 models have all moved in the same activation. They can set the stage and call the dance, and all of a sudden there's a flamer or a melta right in your face and you didn't expect it. So what's the best way to deal with Lead the Procession? Respect the threat range. They can get a lot farther up the field than you really anticipate. Use terrain and screening units to your advantage and keep them at arm's length if at all possible. Guard actions become very valuable in Into the Dark, and you can all of a sudden prevent them from moving everybody all at once under threat of fire. Play cagey a little bit in the early game. Anticipate that they're going to move the flock all the way up the field further than you want. They're strongest once they're set up inside that sermon bubble and the buffs are being applied, so if you can split them off and keep them outside of the sermon, all of a sudden Lead the Procession becomes not as big of a deal. Also, the most obvious one. It's worth sacrificing a unit and taking out the Confessor early on if you can. The whole sermon mechanic falls apart, and they've got a 3-inch bubble, but Lead the Procession is no longer a big deal, and their models are just left out there hanging on their own. He is easily worth the trade if you can take him out early on. So the fourth point we're going to go over, and it's a little bit of a generalized topic, is Ploys, damage reduction, and the Emperor Protect Shenanigans. There's a lot in the Sanctifiers bag of tricks. A lot of them rely on the sermon, which we just covered. But there's a couple of things that you need to bear in mind when you're going into this team that'll help you on the fly. So first, let's talk about Commanding Declamation. This is a Confessor unique ability, and it's a once per battle ability that he gets to use, where upon your activation, if you're visible and within 6 inches of him, he can roll a d6. And if he rolls higher than your APL, so at best you're getting a 50-50 shot, he just cancels that action. You don't get the APL back, and all of a sudden your plans have just fallen apart. The good news is this is once per battle, so bear that in mind as you get people close to him in an attempt to take him out early on, because he can all of a sudden pull the rug out from underneath your plans. The Sanctifiers also have a lot of reroll abilities and ploys, like the Emperor Protects, where they get to reroll some of their defense dice, or Ardent Eradication, where they're all of a sudden hitting more consistently because they're rerolling attack dice, and those blaze tokens become much more of a reality. There's also a lot of extra melee buffs being thrown around, particularly inside of that sermon bubble, and the Cherub's going to be passing APL. Piece of advice, if the Cherub is cattle prodding the Assassin or the Miraculous, there's a reason for it, and you should probably stay outside of charging distance. So with all this in mind, just be very careful as you get within that sermon bubble. If you're going forward to take out the Confessor, just make sure that you know that he could try to undo one of your shooting attacks or undo your charge. Again, it's a 50-50 chance, but the odds are never in my favor. Be flexible with this team. Don't overcommit. They've got a lot of tricks in their bag, but your job is to get them to spend them inefficiently. So run some feints. Throw away some models in a good trade if you can, and get those out of the way so that you can do serious damage further on. And finally, taking out high damage output models like the Assassin or the Miraculous early on, way before they get to do any of their shenanigans, will make your life infinitely easier. So the last good tip I can give you is play the mission, not the kill count. It's a horde army. They've got 11 models. They're probably going to be able to do a lot more than you. Hopefully you're getting some counteractions in there, but those 11 models, or realistically 10 plus a flying Guy Fieri, can get a lot done in a single turning point. The Sanctifiers trade bodies extremely well, better than they have any right to, and trying to table them is often a trap. This is a hard mindset to shift out of, but really focus on your crit ops and your tac ops. The likelihood of you taking out all 11 models, unless you get lucky or you're just a tactical genius, are not as high as them taking out your 6 or 7. And if you play sloppy and you're really not careful, you can end up screened into a corner before you even know it. So again, I'll reiterate, focus on the mission. Play your crit ops, play your tac ops, take those objectives and make them earn them back if they want them. Play to your strengths. If you're shooting heavy, go forth and take them out from a distance. If you've got some good objective holders, play into that. Let them come and try to take that from you and make the trade as painful as possible. And don't get baited into unfavorable fights just because some preacher is screaming the Emperor's name in your face. They've got a lot of tricks up their sleeves, and they're, again, gonna trade models better than you expect. Chipping away at their models and objective denial are often better ways to play against this team. In the long run, you're probably gonna come out ahead if you just focus on the mission. These guys want to cluster. They have to in order to survive. Punish them for it. Send your models out to split them up and cause as much damage as possible in the middle of their little friendly get-together. So there you go, the 5 biggest tips and tricks I can give you to help you when you come up against the Sanctifiers and Kill Team. If you've already played against this team and you've got some hard-earned tips and tricks, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I'm sure everybody will appreciate it. And if this video helped you beat the Emperor's Holy Hype Men, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we've got more content like this coming up for other teams as well. And remember, when in doubt, just put the fire out. Sometimes it's just not worth it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys in the next video. If you'd like to see a specific team, feel free to let us know and we'll try to prioritize that for you. Take care.